Mother stood at the front of our living room, surrounded by her closest friends, clutching a framed photograph of me. Her voice trembled with just the right amount of grief as she spoke. The accident happened so suddenly. One moment she was there and then gone, my beautiful Isabel taken from me far too soon. I watched the video from 3 states away, my phone screen blurring with tears. Someone had recorded Mother's impromptu memorial gathering and posted it online, tagging mutual friends who thought they should know about my tragic passing. The photo she held was from my college graduation, me in my cap and gown, smiling at a future I'd thought would include my family. That was 2 years ago, back when Mother still claimed me as her daughter. Her friends dabbed at their eyes with expensive tissues. They hugged her, offered condolences, promised to be there for her during this impossibly difficult time. Several mentioned charity donations in my memory. One suggested a scholarship fund in my name. Mother accepted it all with practiced grace, her performance flawless. She'd always been good at playing roles, the devoted mother, the pillar of society, the woman who had everything including a perfect daughter. Everything except the truth. I wasn't dead, I was just dead to her. 1 month earlier, I'd stood in a courthouse wearing a simple lace dress I'd found at a thrift store. No elaborate wedding, no guest list, no photographer capturing every moment. Just me, Noah, a judge, and 2 witnesses we'd pulled from the hallway. "I do," I said, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. "I do," Noah had echoed, squeezing my fingers gently. We were married in 7 minutes. I'd become Mrs. Isabel Crawford, and my mother had no idea. I'd tried to tell her, called her 3 times that morning before the ceremony, my thumb hovering over her contact. Each time I'd remembered our last conversation, her cold fury when I'd mentioned Noah's name, her ultimatum that I choose between that nobody and my family. "He's beneath you, Isabel. His family has nothing. No connections, no wealth, no future. If you throw your life away on someone like him, don't expect me to watch you destroy everything I've built." Built, not everything I'd built, everything she'd built. My life was just another construction project for her to manage. My phone buzzed during the vows, Mother calling again. I'd silenced it, focusing on Noah's face instead, on the way he looked at me like I was the only person in the world who mattered. That night my voicemail filled with her messages, each one angrier than the last. The final message was the one that changed everything. Mother's voice was cold, controlled, every word measured. "You've made your choice, Isabel, and I've made mine. As of today you are no longer part of this family. Don't call, don't visit, don't expect anything from me ever again. You're dead to me, and soon you'll be dead to everyone else too." I didn't understand that last part until a week later, when I woke up to a voicemail from my childhood friend Amy. I almost deleted it. I'd been avoiding calls from my hometown, not ready to explain the wedding or deal with Mother's aftermath. But something made me press play. "Hey Isabel, I know you'll never hear this, but I needed to say goodbye properly." Her voice was thick with tears. "Your mom posted about the accident. I can't believe you're gone. I keep thinking about that time we snuck out to the lake, remember? God, we were so young and stupid and happy. I'm so sorry I didn't reach out more after you moved away. I'm sorry for everything I never got to say. I hope, wherever you are, you're at peace. I love you. I'll always love you." The message ended. I stood frozen, my phone shaking in my hand. I pulled up Mother's social media. There it was, my graduation photo posted 3 days ago. My beautiful daughter Isabel passed away suddenly while traveling abroad. My heart is shattered beyond repair. The comments were flooded with sympathy. Hundreds of people mourning me, sharing memories, promising prayers. Mother had declared me dead rather than admit I'd married against her wishes. Noah and I moved into a tiny apartment across the country. 1 bedroom, a kitchen barely big enough for 1 person, walls so thin we could hear our neighbors' conversations. It was nothing like the house I'd grown up in with its 5 bedrooms and pristine gardens. But it was ours, really, truly ours. I started taking freelance design work, logos, websites, whatever I could find online. Noah worked as a data analyst for a small tech company, his degree finally put to use despite Mother's claims that he'd never amount to anything. Money was tight. Some weeks we chose between groceries and electricity. We learned to make meals from rice and beans, to mend clothes instead of buying new ones, to find joy in free activities like walking through parks and watching sunsets from our tiny balcony. "Do you regret it?" Noah asked one evening as we ate spaghetti for the 4th night in a row. Never, I said honestly. This is hard, but it's real. Everything with Mother was just performance. This is actually living. But some nights I'd scroll through social media and see the tributes. Former classmates sharing memories, distant relatives posting about how much they'd miss me, my high school dance teacher talking about my bright spirit and how gone too soon I was. Mother had made me a ghost, and everyone believed her. Mother thrived in her new role as the grieving parent. Her social calendar filled with sympathy lunches, charity events held in my memory, and interviews with local publications about coping with loss. "The pain never goes away," she told a reporter for the community magazine, "but I'm trying to honor Isabel's legacy by giving back. She would have wanted me to help others." The article showed her volunteering at a youth center, posing with children who had no idea they were props in her performance. The headline read, "Finding Purpose After Tragedy, One Mother's Journey." I read it in our cramped apartment, Noah's arm around my shoulders. "She's using your fake death for publicity." Of course she is. Mother never wastes an opportunity. I closed the browser, trying to ignore the ache in my chest. Everything, always been about her image. I was just another accessory until I stopped being useful. But seeing it hurt more than I'd expected. The woman in those photos looked like she was really grieving, really suffering. Part of me wondered if she'd convinced herself it was true, that I actually was dead to her in every way that mattered. Noah held me while I cried that night, mourning not my own death but the mother I'd never really had. The first crack in Mother's facade appeared at a family reunion. My cousin posted photos online. Dozens of relatives gathered for grandmother's 80th birthday. I zoomed in on faces, recognizing aunts and uncles I hadn't seen in years. One comment stood out, "Beautiful celebration, so sad Isabel couldn't be there. Where is she buried? I'd love to visit and pay my respects." Mother's response was vague, "Private ceremony, family only." More questions followed. Another cousin asked for the name of the charity accepting donations in my memory. Someone else wanted to know which hospital had treated me, thinking they'd send flowers to the staff who'd tried to save me. Mother's answers became increasingly evasive. She claimed exhaustion, said she couldn't talk about it yet, asked people to respect her privacy during this difficult time. But people kept asking. The internet had made it too easy to fact-check, to cross-reference, to notice inconsistencies. Someone pointed out that no obituary had ever been published. Another mentioned they couldn't find any death certificate or cemetery records. Mother doubled down, posting tearful videos about how hard it was to relive the trauma. She accused questioners of being insensitive, of making her grief even more painful. Most people backed off, but a few remained suspicious, their questions lingering in comment sections like unwelcome ghosts. Life in our small apartment had its own quiet joys. Noah would surprise me with flowers from the grocery store's discount bin. We'd have picnics on our balcony, making up games to pass the time. On good months, we'd splurge on a movie or a meal at the diner down the street. I never thought I'd be happy eating dollar menu burgers, I admitted one evening. Noah grinned. "I never thought I'd be married to someone who appreciates dollar menu burgers. We're living the dream." We were, in a way. No pretense, no performance, no constantly wondering if we were meeting impossible standards. Just two people building a life together from scratch. But late at night, I'd sometimes admit I missed Mother. Not the woman she'd become, the one who valued status over family, but the mother I remembered from childhood, the one who'd read me bedtime stories and braided my hair for school photos. "She buried me long before she told everyone I was dead," I told Noah one night. "The moment I didn't fit her perfect plan, I stopped existing to her. The funeral was just making it official." He held me close, and I let myself grieve for the mother I'd lost years before the fake funeral, the one who'd loved me unconditionally, if she'd ever really existed at all. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, in a thick cream envelope with an embossed law firm logo. Noah stared at it for a full minute before opening it, his hands shaking. "It's from Patterson and Sterling," he said. "They're one of the biggest corporate law firms in the country. Why would they be writing to me?" I read over his shoulder as he unfolded the letter. The words seemed impossible. "Dear Mr. Crawford, we regret to inform you of the passing of Mr. Harrison Crawford. As his legal counsel, we must discuss matters of his estate with you, his sole surviving heir. Please contact our office at your earliest convenience to schedule a meeting regarding your inheritance. Noah's father, the man who'd left when Noah was 3, who'd never paid child support, who'd been nothing but a name on a birth certificate. I didn't even know he was alive, Noah whispered. Mom said he disappeared, that he wanted nothing to do with us. Maybe he didn't, I said carefully, until now. The letter mentioned an estate, inheritance, words that suggested Noah's absent father had died with something to leave behind. We called the number listed. The secretary scheduled us for Thursday at 2 p.m. Neither of us slept that night, wondering what we'd discover. The law office occupied 3 floors of a downtown skyscraper. Everything was marble and glass, so polished I could see my reflection in the floors. Our thrift store clothes looked shabby in the elevator mirrors. A lawyer named Mr. Sterling met us in a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He was kind but professional, sliding documents across the table with practiced efficiency. Mr. Crawford Harrison was not just a businessman. He was the CEO and primary shareholder of Reynolds & Co., one of the largest private equity firms in North America. Noah's face was blank. I don't understand, my father worked construction, that's what my mother said. Your mother may not have known the truth. Harrison built his company from nothing after leaving his previous life behind. He became extraordinarily successful. Mr. Sterling paused. And you, Mr. Crawford, are his only legal heir. The documents he showed us were incomprehensible. Asset values with too many zeros, property holdings in multiple countries, stock portfolios worth more than I could process. Noah was now the majority owner of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. The scruffy data analyst who'd married me in a courthouse was suddenly one of the wealthiest men in the country. This can't be real, Noah kept saying. This is a mistake. But it was. DNA tests confirmed it. Legal documents proved it. Within a week, our entire world had turned upside down. The lawyers and PR teams descended like a swarm. Our tiny apartment became command central for managing Noah's sudden transition from nobody to corporate heir. We need to introduce you properly, the head of PR explained. The business community is already speculating. We should control the narrative before rumors start. A press conference was scheduled for the following week. Noah would be formally introduced as Harrison Crawford's son, and the new principal shareholder of Reynolds & Co. Media from around the world had already requested credentials. This is insane, Noah said for the 100th time. I don't know anything about running a company. I analyze data for a small tech firm. You have advisors for that, Mr. Sterling assured him. Right now we need to present you as confident and capable. The markets are watching, investors are nervous, we need to show stability. They wanted to know everything about us, our history, our relationship, any skeletons that might embarrass the company. I watched their faces when we explained we'd been married in a courthouse with no family present. That's not ideal, the PR director admitted, but we can work with it. Young love married against the odds, people like that story. What they didn't know was why we'd married that way, and I intended to keep it that way. Mother's fake funeral was my secret, buried as deep as she tried to bury me. The transformation happened over 3 days. Stylists, photographers, consultants, all working to turn us into the image of young corporate royalty. I stood in a boutique, while a woman with severe glasses studied me critically. You have good bone structure, we'll work with that. Hair needs professional styling, wardrobe needs a complete overhaul, and we'll need to work on your posture and speaking style. I was measured, photographed, and dressed in clothes that cost more than 3 months of our rent. The woman in the mirror looked like someone else, polished, elegant, confident. I don't recognize myself, I admitted to Noah that evening. He looked equally uncomfortable in his new tailored suit. We'll stay us, he promised. No matter what changes on the outside, we're still the same people who ate spaghetti 4 nights in a row. But I wasn't sure that was possible. Money changed things, power changed things, and we were about to have more of both than we'd ever imagined. The press conference was scheduled for Saturday. Cameras, reporters, questions we'd been coached to answer. Our lives were about to become public property. And somewhere, 3 states away, Mother was living her life as a grieving parent, completely unaware that everything was about to change. The media coverage started before the press conference even happened. Leaked information hit gossip sites first, mystery heir to Crawford fortune, and who is Noah Crawford? Reporters dug into Noah's background, finding little. His childhood with a single mother, college on scholarships, quiet life working in data analysis. No scandals, no drama, nothing but a normal guy who'd suddenly inherited billions. They found me too, listed as his wife, married 6 months ago. But my maiden name, my background, my family, all carefully obscured by lawyers who knew how to protect privacy. The public is fascinated, the PR director told us. The humility angle is working. People love the idea of regular people thrust into wealth. Just maintain that image at the press conference. Saturday arrived too quickly. We were dressed, coached, and terrified. The event was being held at the company's headquarters, a massive building downtown with the Reynolds & Co. logo gleaming above the entrance. "Ready?" Noah asked, taking my hand. "No, but let's do it anyway." We walked out onto the stage, cameras flashing like lightning, and I saw my life split into before and after. Before this moment I was dead, killed off by my mother to protect her reputation. After this moment I'd be on every screen in the country. The question was whether Mother would be watching. Mother was at a charity luncheon when she first heard the whispers. The annual event benefited children's literacy programs, but the real purpose was social networking among the city's elite. "Did you see the news about Reynolds & Co.?" One woman asked another at the next table. "That young heir is absolutely fascinating, and his wife, she's stunning." Mother barely registered the conversation, focused on her salad and the donation pledge forms being passed around. She'd become skilled at these events, using her tragic loss to connect with other donors, to position herself as someone who understood suffering. "The wife looks so familiar," another voice said. "I swear I've seen her before, something about her smile." "Probably just one of those faces," her companion replied. "But they're everywhere now, every channel is covering the story." Mother's phone buzzed with a text from her book club friend. "Turn on Channel 7, you have to see this couple taking over that huge company. The wife reminds me of someone." She ignored it, returning to her conversation about the literacy program. Later, during dessert, another text. "Seriously, Margaret, doesn't that girl looks exactly like Isabel?" Mother's hand froze, her fork hovering above her chocolate mousse. That was impossible. Isabel was dead. She told everyone Isabel was dead. She excused herself to the restroom, pulling up news sites on her phone. And there on her screen was a photo that made her breath catch. Me, standing beside Noah, both of us in expensive clothes, smiling at cameras. Her dead daughter, very much alive. The press conference was more intense than I'd imagined. Hundreds of people crowded into the auditorium. Reporters, company employees, investors, curious onlookers who'd somehow gotten credentials. Noah spoke first, reading from prepared remarks about honoring his father's legacy and leading the company into the future. He was nervous but genuine, his discomfort actually making him more relatable. Then it was my turn. I hadn't expected to speak, but the PR team insisted. "The wife always speaks at these things, just a few words about supporting your husband." I stepped to the microphone, looking out at the sea of cameras. Somewhere out there on screens across the country, people were watching, including, potentially, my mother. "I'm proud to stand beside Noah as he takes on this responsibility," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "We've built our relationship on honesty, hard work, and love. Those values won't change, regardless of circumstances." The cameras flashed. Questions were shouted. Noah and I answered what we could, deflecting the more personal ones with practiced responses our PR team had prepared. An hour later we were escorted out through a back entrance, overwhelmed and exhausted. "That wasn't so bad," Noah said. He was wrong, that was just the beginning. By evening our faces were everywhere, news sites, social media, gossip blogs. The humble heir's one headline read, "From courthouse to boardroom, a modern love story," claimed another. And somewhere Mother was watching, finally seeing the truth she tried to bury. Mother's social media exploded overnight. Comments on her old posts about my death ranged from confused to accusatory. "Wait, isn't that Isabel in the news? OMG, your daughter is alive. Did you lie about her dying? What is happening? Margaret, you owe everyone an explanation." News outlets found the connection quickly. Reporters dug up Mother's tribute posts, her charity interviews, the articles about her grief. They cross-referenced dates, compared photos, and assembled a timeline that made Mother look like either delusional or a liar. Local woman claimed daughter was dead. Daughter appears very much alive at corporate event, ran one particularly damaging headline. Mother tried damage control, deleting posts frantically, but the internet never forgets. Screenshots had already been shared thousands of times. Her carefully constructed image was disintegrating in real time. Her friends started calling, demanding explanations. The charity board she'd served on requested an emergency meeting. Reporters showed up at her house, cameras ready to capture her response. She stayed inside, curtains drawn, watching her reputation crumble while my face smiled from every screen. The woman who'd declared me dead was now the internet's biggest fraud, exposed by the very daughter she'd tried to erase. Mother's life imploded over the next week. Friends stopped calling. Social invitations dried up. The charity board suspended her membership pending an investigation into whether she'd solicited donations under false pretenses. Every time she turned on the television or opened her laptop, there I was. News coverage of Noah's corporate transition, features about our relationship, interviews where we discussed building a life from nothing, working hard, believing in each other despite obstacles. The contrast was devastating. I'd supposedly died in tragedy, but here I was, thriving. Mother had played the grieving parent, but I'd never actually needed grief, just distance from her toxicity. She tried to leave the house once for groceries. A neighbor confronted her in the parking lot, filming on their phone. "You told everyone your daughter was dead. What kind of mother does that?" The video went viral. Mother, caught off guard, unable to formulate a coherent response, just stammering and defensive. The comments were merciless. She cared more about attention than her actual daughter. Imagine being so obsessed with image that you fake your child's death. That daughter is better off without her. Mother returned home, locked the doors and didn't leave again for days. Her perfect life, built on carefully maintained appearances, was crumbling exactly as she'd always feared. Mother finally attempted damage control through a carefully worded statement, released by a crisis management firm. Recent media attention has brought to light a profound misunderstanding regarding my daughter Isabel. In my grief over our estrangement and struggling with mental health challenges, I made regrettable statements about her passing. I was not in my right mind. I'm seeking help and hope my daughter can forgive my temporary loss of judgment. The statement was clinical, calculated to generate sympathy while avoiding direct admission of wrongdoing. Mental health struggles, temporary loss of judgment, regrettable statements. Not lies, not manipulation, not a deliberate campaign to erase her daughter for daring to choose her own path. The internet wasn't buying it. Fact-checkers tore the statement apart, pointing out the timeline didn't support temporary anything. Mother had maintained the lie for months, given interviews, solicited donations, built an entire narrative. Reporters found people who'd questioned her story early on, family members who'd asked about burial sites and been shut down, friends who'd offered to visit the grave and been told it was too painful. Mother's attempts to paint herself as mentally unstable backfired, so she's either a liar or mentally unfit. Either way, she shouldn't be trusted, one commentator pointed out. Her carefully crafted defense crumbled as quickly as her original story had. We'd been in our new home, a sprawling estate that still felt surreal, for 3 days when security called. "Mrs. Crawford, there's a Margaret Winters at the gate. She claims to be your mother. Should we admit her?" I'd known this was coming. Mother couldn't stay away once her reputation was destroyed. She'd need to fix things to control the narrative, to find some way to make this my fault. "Let her in," I said, ignoring Noah's concerned look. She arrived in her Mercedes, still dressed expensively despite her social exile, but she looked smaller somehow, diminished. The confident matriarch who declared me dead now seemed fragile, uncertain. "Isabel," she stopped in the doorway, taking in the marble foyer, the sweeping staircase, the obvious wealth. "You've done well for yourself." "No thanks to you. Can we talk, please?" I led her to a sitting room, one of several in the house. Everything here was too big, too fancy, too much. But it was mine, earned by Noah's inheritance, not by Mother's approval. "I know you're angry." "Angry?" I laughed bitterly. "Mother, you told everyone I was dead. You held a memorial, gave interviews about losing me, built a charity presence on my fake death. Angry doesn't begin to cover it. Mother's carefully prepared speech faltered. You humiliated me, marrying Noah without telling me, cutting me out completely. What was I supposed to tell people? The truth that I got married, that you disapproved. I stood, unable to sit still. Instead, you chose to kill me off rather than admit your daughter made a choice you didn't like. You don't understand the position I was in, my social circles, my reputation. I don't care about your reputation, Mother, I never did. That was always your obsession, not mine. And look where it got you, she gestured around the room. You're living in luxury now, but 6 months ago you were nobody. A nobody married to a nobody, struggling in some terrible apartment. I was right about your choices. No, my voice was quiet but firm. You were right about nothing. I was happy in that apartment. Happier than I ever was in your house, performing for your friends, pretending to be your perfect daughter. I gave you everything. You gave me nothing I actually needed. Love isn't conditional on meeting your standards. Support isn't withdrawn when someone makes a choice you don't like. I met her eyes. You could have just been honest, said we were estranged, that you disapproved of my marriage. People would have understood that, but you couldn't even allow me to exist if I wasn't exactly what you wanted. Mother opened her mouth, closed it. For once she had no rehearsed response. You told the world I was dead, Mom. What exactly was I supposed to warn you about? Mother left without the reconciliation she'd clearly hoped for. I watched her car disappear down the drive, then retreated to the bedroom Noah and I shared. He found me an hour later, staring out the window. How do you feel? I don't know, empty maybe. I thought confronting her would feel different. That night Mother drove home in tears. Later she told me this in a letter I didn't read until months afterward. She described how memories flooded her. My childhood ballet recitals where she'd been so proud. School plays where I'd forgotten my lines and she'd laughed instead of criticizing. Bedtime stories, birthday parties, quiet moments before her obsession with status had consumed everything. She wrote about realizing she'd become exactly what she'd always feared, cold, shallow, alone. That in trying to maintain her perfect image, she'd destroyed the one relationship that actually mattered. The letter was eloquent, apologetic, devastating, but it didn't change anything. Words on paper couldn't undo months of being declared dead, couldn't repair the damage of choosing reputation over relationship. I eventually replied with a single line, I forgive you but I can't forget, take care of yourself. And then I moved forward without her. The interview went viral within hours. Noah and I sat with a respected journalist, discussing our relationship, the sudden inheritance adjusting to wealth. The questions were thoughtful, the conversation genuine. Your relationship started with opposition from family, the interviewer noted carefully. How did you handle that? We chose each other, I said simply. Sometimes that's all you can do, choose the people who choose you back and build from there. And forgiveness, given what happened with your mother's misunderstanding. Noah squeezed my hand, letting me decide how much to share. I've learned that sometimes you have to accept an apology you'll never get, I said quietly. And sometimes you have to grieve relationships that aren't dead but also aren't healthy. That's okay. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It just means releasing the anger so it doesn't consume you. The interviewer nodded. That's remarkably mature. It's remarkably necessary, I corrected. Holding on to bitterness would have destroyed me. I chose to build something better instead. The clip of that exchange exploded online. People shared it with captions about boundaries, about choosing yourself, about healthy separation from toxic family. My face became associated with resilience, with grace under pressure, with surviving betrayal without becoming bitter. Everything Mother had tried to take from me, I'd reclaimed on my own terms. Mother's breakdown happened publicly. She showed up at a charity gala I was attending, one of the same events where she'd once held court. But now she was uninvited, desperate, no longer the grieving mother but the exposed fraud. Security tried to stop her, but she pushed through, sobbing, creating a scene. Cameras caught everything, Mother falling to her knees in front of me, begging for forgiveness, mascara running, her perfect facade completely shattered. Please, Isabel, please, I made a terrible mistake. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. The room went silent. Everyone was watching, the same social circle that had once sympathized with her grief, now witnessing her humiliation. I stood frozen, unsure what to do. This woman had declared me dead, used my fake death for social capital, tried to erase me completely. And now she was kneeling in front of hundreds of people, begging for mercy. "Mrs. Winters," I said quietly, my voice carrying in the silence, "please get up. Not until you forgive me, not until. This isn't the place, please." Security moved in gently, helping her to her feet. She clung to me for a moment, whispering, "I love you, I always loved you. I just loved my image more and I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." They led her away while cameras flashed, capturing every moment of a once powerful woman's complete collapse. 2 days later I met Mother privately. She showed up looking broken, hair unwashed, clothes rumpled, no makeup to hide the evidence of sleepless nights. We sat in a small cafe, far from anyone who might recognize us. For the first time in my life, Mother wasn't performing. She was just there, raw and real and devastatingly human. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said. "I don't deserve it. What I did, declaring you dead, using your fake death for sympathy, it's unforgivable." "Then why are we here?" "Because I need you to know something, even if you never speak to me again." She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "You taught me to value status over people, but that's wrong. I taught myself that. And I taught it to you too until you were brave enough to reject it." "Mom." "Let me finish, please." She took a shaky breath. "I had to lose you, really lose you, to realize people matter more than reputation. That love isn't conditional on meeting impossible standards. That being the grieving mother was easier than being the imperfect mother who makes mistakes." "I forgive you," I said, surprising both of us. "But I can't have you in my life, not now, maybe not ever. What you did broke something that can't be easily fixed." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand, but thank you for at least hearing me." We parted at the cafe door. I watched her drive away, feeling both lighter and sadder than before. Forgiveness didn't mean reconciliation. It just meant releasing the weight I'd been carrying. Mother moved away quietly to a small town 3 hours away. She rented a modest apartment, took a part-time job at a local library, and disappeared from the social circles she'd once dominated. I heard about her occasionally, friends who'd remained in contact, distant relatives who reported she seemed different, quieter, almost humble. She sent letters sometimes, apologizing again, updating me on her life, asking nothing in return. I read most of them, though I rarely replied. On my birthday, a package arrived with no return address. Inside was a photo I'd never seen before, me at age 10, sitting in Mother's lap, both of us laughing at something off camera. A note was attached. "Before I forgot what mattered, I'm sorry I lost sight of this for so long." The photo now sits on my desk, not as absolution but as a reminder of who we both were, who we became, and the price of choosing image over authenticity. Mother lived quietly, watching my life from afar through news articles and social media posts she never commented on. She kept that one photo on her table, the same one she'd held at my fake funeral, but now it represented something different. Not the daughter she'd lost, but the daughter she'd pushed away and was finally learning to let go of. 2 years later, I stood on a stage at a women's empowerment gala. The audience was full of successful women, each with their own stories of overcoming obstacles and choosing themselves. "I was declared dead by my own mother," I began, watching the audience lean forward. "Not metaphorically, actually declared dead. She held a memorial, gave interviews about grief, built a whole identity around losing me." I told the whole story: the courthouse wedding, the fake funeral, the months of being erased, the sudden inheritance that exposed Mother's lies, the public unraveling of her carefully constructed image. But here's what I learned: you can survive being buried alive, metaphorically speaking. You can rebuild from nothing, choose love over approval, and create a life that's genuine even when it's not perfect. I learned that forgiveness is possible without reconciliation, that you can release anger without forgetting harm, that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. And I learned that peace doesn't require revenge. My mother's lies exposed themselves. I just had to keep living, keep building, keep choosing authenticity over performance. The applause was thunderous. Afterward, women approached with their own stories of choosing themselves despite family opposition, of surviving betrayal, of rebuilding from nothing. Noah waited backstage, beaming. "You did it." "No," I corrected, taking his hand. "We did." That night I looked at the photo Mother had sent me at 10, before complications, before performances, before everything fell apart, and I felt something unexpected: gratitude. Not for what Mother had done, but for who I'd become despite it, for the strength I'd found in loss, for the authenticity I'd built from the ashes of her lies. I'd survived being declared dead, and in surviving I'd learned to truly live. The girl in that photo, the one Mother had tried to preserve and control, was gone. In her place was a woman who'd chosen her own path, built her own life, and found peace without needing anyone's permission. That woman was who I'd always been meant to become. I just needed to be buried first to finally rise.